evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are all well. I am the Pink Pig, and I am here for your GT3 Friday, PureSimGear GT3 Friday, Round 1, Season 6 Tier 2 Championship, and the drivers are just getting ready. I hope you are all ready to enjoy the action. It's a bit of a change for us. We are on PC. That's because Tier 1 are on Twitch channel, and they are about to go live as well. So yes, hello. Hope you keep me company for what's going to be some pretty awesome action. We have 26 drivers on the grid already. You can only see the top 22 drivers at the moment, and we have just over 4 minutes left of practice. So, what does Barcelona have in store for us today? We've raced on it twice already this week. We raced on Tuesday night for our Super Sprint Series with 47 cars, decided to cause absolute chaos. But it was two epic 25-minute sprint races, and last night the rookies had their turn, and some really good times put in. A couple of guys have raced in this track more than once this week, so you're hoping they got their cars dialed in, and straight away you see Pryor, who raced last night and on Tuesday night, at the top of the timings with a 1:44.25, and let's see how those times tumble as we go through the evening. I've got a little bit of a new toy, as you might notice from the stand-ins, and thank you very much to ACC TV for providing this as our own FRL unique standings, fastest laps, driver information, less bristle. And I've also got a new logo, and anyone who's seen me drive, I am the one in the big pink Porsche. Yes, Blanchett, Pryor, 2, top. Yes, indeed. So 27 now. Pepsi Poe, who also raced last night, has just joined us. Christopher Gedman, we're probably expecting big things from tonight. He was very consistent yesterday in the rookies race, and so was Ian Thompson, who also raced on Tuesday night. So yeah, let's see. Let's have a bit of a track walk of this circuit. So this is the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, and all the fun of the fair will be caused down into turn 1, as the drivers have a very long straight to contend with before hitting those braking zones ready for Alf and the fast right left-hander, then through the tempting Renault, where it's always dangerous to get onto the power too early, the difficult right-hander of Repsol, then you start to go down the hill and back uphill into Verf, then Campsa, down towards the difficult hairpin Lacaxia, left-hander, dangerous to get onto the power too early, then Bank Sabadell, and then in finally through the chicane into New Holland, and get on the power as early as possible to gain as much time down the start-finish straight as you can. Oh, only had 38 seconds to try and run through that, and it was luckily I rehearsed it. Hope you could tell. So just under 2 minutes left of practice. Let's have a look at some of our times. So we've got Stuart Pryor at top of the tree, as we mentioned earlier, on a 44.250. Just under 2 tenths behind, we've got Patrick Den. Then Mad Chip back again. Yes, I'm missing the Pink Pig too. But I get another outing in it tomorrow. 6.5 hours of Kyalami, and then followed by 2 hours of Kyalami in the evening. My mental capacity can only handle one track. Mad Chip's currently in third with a 1:44.465. Then Ryan Blanchett, who on a 1:44.5, and then just followed behind Oliver Ewig. Apologies if I'm butchering anyone's names. I'm also not feeling my best today. I'm currently sat in my shed. It is 17 degrees in here, and I have to wear a hoodie. Welcome to Brizzle. Right, welcome to winter, Brizzle. So I'm reading and trying to talk at the same time. But this is the dangerous right-hander. Back in my old F1 days, catching that curve meant death, and you always just kind of span out. Difficult right-hander, trying to get the appropriate braking zone, and then the game decides to take me away from it. So I'm going to try and follow one of our favourite commentators, and when we get into qualifying, follow the first driver out on the grid, and hopefully they don't disappoint us. So Mad Chip's decided to jump into the pits. Who else have we got? We've got pretty much everyone's jump into the pits. Mr. Goswell, or Mr. Goswell. Back again in the Aston Martin this season. Last time out he was using the McLaren. McLaren's taken a bit of a hit in terms of balance of power this season. So, and the Aston seems the place to go. Whereas BMW and McLaren were the very nice cars last season. The recent balance of power update has kind of nerfed it a little bit. Right, Jake. Who's Jake? Smiley. Yes, we do have our patrons. You can become a patron for as little as £3 a month, and what that £3 gives you is the ultimate gratitude of all the FRL admin team, but also entry to our weekly lottery. Currently at £15 because we've missed the last 2 podcasts. And
green light, give it all you got.
Only problem with a wonderful new graphic is it does take it away from us a little bit. There we go. Go back into OBS. Yes, so we've got our £3 patron, then we've got the £5 patron, which gives you access to an extra bunch of things, includes an entry to our Christmas draw, and then £5.50 where the wonderful Keddy will make you a spectacular livery for you to display on stream. So who have we got coming out first? I didn't keep track of it, but we're on board with Mr. Goswell, or Goswell, at least he probably prefers to be known, so we'll jump on board with him, and let's have a little bit of a view from his cockpit. Mark Vilhine is in the server as well. So some of you in the chat may be wondering what you have to do to enter FRL and its constant growth. So we have our SimGrid page. Is my leopard skin thawed, JR, please? That's why I'm so cold. So we have wonderful events on SimGrid. So as mentioned, we've got Super Sprint, Timson Super Sprints on Tuesdays, and the Gamers United Mental Health on Thursdays, and the cream of the crop, the PureSimGear GT3 Friday. We also have our monthly endurance events. Next month is the wonderful Spa. So you just need to register for one of those events on SimGrid. Do the FRL license, so that's 7 laps around Bathurst. You will be assigned a Pro and an AM status, and what that Pro and an AM status enables you to do is enter in the appropriate split. Also very, very, very exciting developments this week. Given our position on SimGrid, we have been invited to host the Road to World Cup race, which is 8 hours at Bathurst, and the top 3 teams get invited for the opportunity to compete in a prize pot of $10,000. And we will be hosting that event on the 27th of November at Bathurst. So registrations are live now. So please jump in and get your teams registered for the opportunity to compete for that 10,000 prize pool. All the entire 8 hours will be streamed live, of course. We'll have live stewarding, and we'll have some of the best esports teams around competing for that opportunity to race in. So if you fancy your chances, sign up and get ready to go. So as we see, watching Mr. Goswell going round, right-hander down towards the difficult braking zone for the left-hander, delaying the power, get on at second gear, going up towards the hill. Now this is a difficult braking zone. Some cars third gear. Oh, that's an interesting line from the car in front. And he just pulls straight on. That's not the best thing to do in that Audi there. Down towards the quick right-hander. Most cars in fourth gear. The Porsche was in third last night, and he runs wide, and that might be an invalidation. So currently just about to cross the line is Mr. Blanchett. How has he done? He has done a 1:44.8, and that is a fantastic marker to put down at the beginning. Goswell going through the final corner now. Not yet. Oh, he's going for the final chicane. You see Mr. Woodward behind. in the wonderful FRL livery Porsche. As he crosses the line, has he managed to set it up there? So who else? We've got FRLACC, a name which I've not seen before. As Wellheim goes fastest with a 44.602. That's a rather unique liveried Porsche. Porsche, we were discussing in the admin chat. I think in the first stint, the force will be with the Porsche, and anticipating that to be at the front of the grid. But as soon as those, so Michael Races just broke the lap record on the other side. So I think Mr. Zakdal will be upset. Pryor goes quickest with a 44.525. So Zakdal held that record for a total of 3 days. Schleiber is in third currently on a 44.750. Encountering a bit of traffic in front with the Lexus. Ian Thompson's gone off the track, and so has Nick Stick, so that's not going to help their chances. Berk Abbas raced with him last night in Porsche in the rookies, and he managed a good podium in the first race. The second race he didn't do as well. Another new name is Tudor. In the Aston Martin, has a bit of open air in front of him at the moment. Anyone going any quicker? Schleiber's going a bit quicker, but seems to have a car in front of them as they brake towards the hairpin. Jump on board with the bonnet. How much are they going to impede him? Currently 3/10 up on his best time through the right-hander now. Porsche in front. Braking down into the quick right-hander. Lexus is getting closer and closer. Move over to the right-hand side of the track. Try and take as much curve as you can in there. Hope for a slipstream, or that the Lexus won't hold him back going down the start-finish straight. 4/10 up. Is this going to be a new quickest lap? Yes, it is. He gets a 44.315. I'm sure you'll be thinking he can go even quicker. Where is Blanchett coming back down towards the hairpin? Currently in 4th place. The number 5 will confuse me. Zakdal's just taking it back. That's epic. The fight is on for pole. We still have 8 minutes here. And the fight continues. Blanchett is currently half a second up, so he can go pretty quick. 6/10 up into the chicane. Ferrari versus Ferrari. I know those Ferraris are absolutely rapid down the start-finish straight last night. So let's see how Mr. Blanchett can do. Has been very, very strong on Barcelona all week, and he goes in provisional pole position with a 44.202. But Schleiber's going quicker. We will try and catch back up with him, but we have other drivers on the track. Let's have a look at the Gedman. Car number 79. Last lap was a 46.697. He'll be slightly disappointed with that and hoping towards the low 46s. Where is Schleiber? Is 1/10 up. I think he's done a red lap. I'm not 100% sure because my eyes are terrible. How's Goswell doing? Goswell's in 10th. Zakdal took it back, or I have no idea what the record is. Well, Smiley, if you go onto the FRL, Formula Racing League websites, go onto PC and then you go to lap records, it's the first number on the top. I think it's something ridiculous like a 42, but don't quote me on that. Berk Aras has gone up into P3, but again is encountering traffic. Blanchett going into the chicane, is he? Yes, he is. That's a lovely camera angle in his Aston Martin. Runs a little bit wide, hope for no invalidation there. Going down the start-finish straight, currently 2/10 up on his lap. Is this going to be, this should be an improvement, and it is. He moves up into P2. But Daniel has gone into P1. That is a fantastic 44.180. Absolutely brilliant by Daniel. I'm sure you will be very, very proud of that. Chica, how is Mr. Thompson doing? currently in 21st, was running in the top 5 for a long proportion of last night. So he'll be hoping for an improvement. Pryor's on a bit of a go slow at the moment. Daniel's jumped into the pits. Ryan Blanchett has just started a new lap. Patrick Den in 5th place. Then we've got what was Mr. Woodward doing? Mr. Woodward's just crossing the line. Last lap was a 45.177, which was his best one so far in qualification. Mad Chip's just gone into yellow flag, so we're not going to catch up with him. Ian Thompson's currently has improved quite drastically. Has gone with a 45.415. Luke Gator is currently the driver that's most improvement on track, currently in P30 with a 47.922. Going through the final corner in his favoured McLaren. Excellent photographer, Luke. So well, this should be an improvement, and it is all the way up to P19. Still just under 5 minutes left of qualifying. Pryor's gone off the track, potentially a collision with that Porsche. Let's hope not, because he will be looking to try and get into the very, very low 44s. Remember, these drivers only have 6 sets of tyres, so they need to save at least 2 for the race. It was 43.215, now a 42.8. Beautiful. I hope you've got me on the big telly and not them, and not Tier 1. Anyone else going quicker at the moment? Blanchett's only just started a lap, so we're not going to catch up with him. Pryor and Den have got yellow flags. Schreiber is currently 30 seconds into his lap. Arras is about 15 seconds from the end. Is he improving at the moment? Can't see any telltale signs. Just going through the final chicane. He does own the fastest final sector by the looks of things in the McLaren, so he'll be hoping for an improvement on this lap and moving up a couple of positions. Maybe it's the 44.7s. There we go, 44.782. There we go, thank you. I'm pleased. Who else is improvement? Serkan Duran. He's currently 4 tenths up on his time. We're trying to keep an eye on the guys at the front. Blanchett has gone into the pits. Pryor is waiting to start a new lap, I think. There seems to be some fun going on between Pryor and Den in 4th and 5th. Not exactly sure. Serkan Duran in 9th place with a 44.6. The track is getting quicker. Mark Wilhijn in the Playboy Porsche. That is a nice livery, I will admit. Just under 3 minutes left of qualifying. Is this going to be an improvement? 44.3 would move him up to 5th place with Marcus Schleiber. Does have a car in front of him at the moment, which is not going to help his cause. He still has quite a bit of his lap to go. Anyone else moving further ahead? So Doku Gang, his last lap was a 2:01.222. So he's joined the server today. Ryan Blanchett hoping for one last stab to try and get pole position. Yeah, here's Dreys. Not uploaded his livery. Currently in 10th place, but is up on his time by 3 or 4 tenths of a second. Marcus Schleiber is going a little bit quicker, but again appears to have some traffic going through the final sector, which is not helping his cause at all. That Ferrari doesn't like curbs, but is very quick on the straight stuff. I think he has readied that lap. But our pole position man is back out on the track. Daniel is just going through his first, going through another hot lap. This will be his last attempt. Let's do something so I can see. There we go. Oh, that's better. It's in full screen for me. I'm not sure what it's like for you. Anyone else improving massively towards the end of this at the moment? Woodward is currently just starting his final stretch. Gedman is just doing his as well. He's into the 45s. Attilia Domikos hasn't yet set a lap. There are 30 cars in the server. Here's Daniel though, currently about a 10th down on his best effort. So I just realised you guys can see what the gaps are. So he's now just flickering between faster and slower. Porsche of Ian Thompson goes off in front. Mark Wilhijn is just about to cross the start-finish line, and he has not improved, so he remains in 8th position, and that will be it for him. Well, he's still got. This is his last attempt. Attilia Domikos in a very similar livery to Daniel. Got drivers now just crossing the line. Daniel's finished his lap. Stuart Pryor is 40 seconds into his. Will need to start improving. Currently about a 10th up on his fastest lap as he approaches the tricky uphill section. Makes a little bit of the curb, a lot of the exit curb, and powers down into the right-hander. Heading down towards the hairpin. Brake at around 100 metres, there we go. How much of the curb on the inside does he take? A little bit, which drives him a little bit wider, but perfect positioning into the chicane. It's not really a chicane, but a tricky right-hander. Avoid getting him real caught on the curb. Just over it, running about the same lap, and he's got some free air, which is really, really important. Into the chicane. Probably missed the apex on the first part, and that will be his lap. Anyone else out on the track? Pepsi Poe has just gone to the pits. I think that is pretty much everyone. Terry Williams, 26. Are you out on track, mate? Nope. Anyone else driving round? There seems to be one car which I can't find. Mark Wilhijn. Mark Wilhijn is 2 tenths up, about to cross the start-finish line. Currently in 9th position, goes all the way up to 6th. Oh. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was qualifying. And that wasn't a bad effort at all. So we do have our pole position driver, as I'm just trying to find it, which is Daniel in P1 in the Ferrari. Then you've got another Ferrari of Blanchette in P2. Stuart Pryor takes up P3. P4 is Patrick Den. Marcus Leber in P5. Mark Wilhijn setting that lap at the final moment in P6. Oliver Ewig in P7. Burke Harras in P8. Mad Chip in P9. Serkan Duran in 10. Dries Verhurst in P11. Nick Stick in P12. Harry Goswell in P13. Tudor in P14. Then we've got Walsh, Hosman, Thompson, Woodward in 18, Gator in 19, Jay Clark in 20th, and that is your top 20 positions. You then have Christopher Gedman in P21, Rokas Kakauskis in 22, Sven Corving in P23, it's Pepsi Poe in 24, so hopefully he'll avoid some contact tonight. Robbie Robstra in P25, then Terry Williams, Attilia Domikos in 27, Lars Bus in 28, Dinan Dirksen in 29, and then bringing up the rear is Dougal Khan, who joined the server about 20 minutes ago. So that is your grid for tonight's race. I'm going to have a quick vape and save you the awful noises, and I will be back in a few ticks. Yeah, it always helps if I turn the vape off. And good job I didn't say anything bad, eh? Right, so there we have. You've still heard my vape, so I didn't save you from that affliction. You stay with me, of course, Smiley. So drivers are just pulling off the line at the moment, so we will jump on with Heli on P3. Drivers in their preparation mode. Pit window open, so there's a 20-minute pit window with a change to last season. So after 20 minutes, the pit opens until 40 minutes remaining. Until 20 minutes remaining. I've just turned my heater down because my ears were burning. Just an update in terms of the room. It is 19 degrees. Yes, at least you cannot see me. I can show you me if you really, really want me to. And you'll see my lovely cold expression. So, video capture device. Okay. Ah, there we go. That's me. Hi. I will turn this off when we get going. There we go. So this is me, and it's for 20 minutes. So this is me in my cold shed, the Pink Pig. Very, very cold. This is my lovely steering wheel. So yes, hope you are all ready for some epic racing action. How much work is Stuart putting into his tyres? I wonder. Getting very, very close to Ryan, sporting the lovely Timpson's logo on his car, racing the super sprints. I'm sure Timpson's will be feeling very appreciated. Just remember, with thank you very much, Dazza. Looking forward to seeing you on PC. Don't forget our sponsors for tonight are PureSimGear. The link to their website is available in the partners channel, in the Discord. Absolute epic racing gloves, and good, nice and durable as well. So please take a look. We've also opened our store on the garage44.co.uk website for some FRL tops. You can get a black one and a white one at the moment, with the respective black and white FRL logos, and we can also potentially in the near future get some hoodies out there to keep me warm. So drivers in their final preparations, we will say goodbye to my ugly mug because nobody wants to see that. Bye. Let's get into Helicam and see all these drivers going through their final preparations. For the first round of Season 6 at Barcelona. I see the grid snaking down. Yeah, but there's also a PS5 stream. Oh, go, go, go! For the round 1 of PureSimGear GT3 Friday, Brian Blanchett seems to have had a very, very good start. Pryor is holding around in the background. There seems to be a car bouncing around. There we go, he's off on the side, so no idea what's happening with him. But Daniel makes turn 1, Blanchett gets through in second, Pryor has a bit of a wiggle and runs right wide. It seems as though most of the drivers have got through, by the looks of things they have indeed. So let's have a look at Patrick Den, out of his rear, out of his front. You can see Blanchett is considering the move into the right-hander, decides against it, which is probably the best idea. All these cars steaming round the track. We do have a yellow flag. Goswell seems to have a yellow flag. Dries Wieshurst has got a yellow flag. Luke Gator. Well, they looks to be okay. There is Dogan Kang. It seemed, I think it was a Porsche, just judging by the look of it. Schreiber remains in P5. Let's have a quick look, see if we can get the position delta in there. There we go. So biggest winner so far is Mark Wilhijn, who's moved up 2 places since the start. Also Serkan Turan has moved up from 10th position. Daniel and Blanchett remain status quo. Biggest loser is Pryor, who's in 9th position. But Playboy boy Mark Wilhijn, or Wilhijn, in P4 has had a very, very good start. There still seems to be some yellow flags on Pryor. What is happening to Pryor? Is there any damage to that car, or has he made it through? He'll be looking to put the pressure on Ewig in front. That lagging guy killed back in field. Well, let's hope. I can't see who it was, unfortunately. But there are 58 minutes of this race left. There is one lap being completed. Let's go into lazy mode. And Keddy's been murdered. Luke Gator's having Doc and Kuhn attacking him and made that move stick, has he? Into turn 1 as we flick back to Blanchett. Daniel seems to be running away. Patrick Den putting a lot of pressure on him. Just 3 tenths behind, 4 tenths behind. Have no idea why I'm looking at this tiny screen. We'll have this one. But Blanchett has definitely moved up in front. But Daniel, sorry, has definitely moved up in front. Burkhak Aras in P6 at the moment has moved up 2 places from the start, mainly down to Pryor not having the best of starts or exits from turn 1 into turn 2. There seems to be a couple of guys at the back of the field. There are 3 cars in the pits. So who are they? Who are they? They've got Terry Williams, Christopher Gedman and Jay Clark have all gone to the pits. Interested to see who that Porsche was who went in. Where else have we got some fun? Ewig in P9. Pryor is still right on his back, as you can see, but he also is trying to take the cars in front. Last lap I don't think was a 13 minutes and 4 seconds. Ewig putting pressure on Matt Chip in the Aston Martin. Oh, he got wide, Be careful on your entry. Has managed to stay in front of Stuart Pryor. Very, very close to the bone in terms of that re-entry. Could have been a nasty, nasty accident. Fastest lap of the race, Ryan Blanchett, 45.455. What else have we got to play with? Nick Stick in P12 is now right, as a result, is right on the back of Stuart Pryor, almost through the back of Stuart Pryor. Whenever I see Pryor's name, I always think of Matt Pryor, the former England wicketkeeper. And if you watch cricket, England have a very big game in the T20 World Cup tomorrow morning. Basically win or bust, and they'll be catching a flight home, so I'll be waking up bright and early to watch that one. If it's a sport, I will watch it. Nick Stick continuing to put pressure on. Let's have a see. So Rokas Kakauskis has made a move and is back under threat from P22 of Luke Gator, looking to potentially send it down. Domikos has moved up a hell of a lot of positions into P17. It flashed up as a yellow flag. Ian Thompson in P15 currently leading that pack. As we can see, just behind him is Dries in car number 4. Back to Burke. It looks as though Blanchett is starting to get back onto the leader. Has now settled down nicely into a room. So last lap for Blanchett was a 45.444. Just under a tenth quicker than Daniel, and also Patrick Den has moved back in to be interested, so I can only assume that Daniel's made a mistake or has had a little bit of a wiggle somewhere, and that's the reason why it's getting closer and closer. So Pryor will probably be the most disappointed with his starts. There's also a bit of a gap from Ewig to Chip of 1.5 seconds. Serkan Duran in P7 against Burke Akaras. And they go side by side, and Serkan Duran regains the place, but also does make a bit of contact with Berg. Wasn't able to judge quickly if that was a fault of anyone else. Tudor has also made a move up into P13. So yes, Attilio Domkos has had the biggest gain, and Duku Kang has also moved up quite nicely to from up 11 positions. So that's a very, very good effort. But let's have a bit of a concentrate on the battle at the front of the grid, where we've got Blanchett, we've got Daniel, and we've got Den, who's just made a a little bit of a dip back, so it's 2 seconds now separating these cars. Blanchett seems to get a better exit out of that quick right-hander, potentially nailing the power on a little bit earlier, and maybe some confidence for Daniel into that hairpin. But there seems to definitely be a separation between the drivers. Pit window doesn't open for another 13 minutes, but there have been cars that have pitted. So Woodward's pitted, Dinan Dirksen has pitted, Gedman, Luke Gator and Terry Williams have all pitted. Pepsi Poe makes a move up into P24 in the Audi. Looks as though Sven Corbin's got a bit of damage to that Porsche on the front, and anyone who's driven the Porsche knows it's an extremely aero-dependent car, and any damage to it will be causing him pain. The Playboy on the back of Den in for the battle for podium positions. Part of me wants to see this on a poster. Stick a buddy on there somewhere as well. Sorry if I've been ignoring anyone in the chat. I've been rather distracted with some fun. Nope, so nobody's speaking to me, so you're all enjoying the action. As Mark Wilhelm retains his position over Schreiber in P5, in P4, as we're back on board with Nick Stick. So Nick Stick and Oliver. So Pryor's managed to get past Ewig now. He'll be focusing on the McLaren of Burke-Arras in front, I'm pretty sure of that. Last lap he was 1.3 seconds, but that was because Arras had that contact through the corner with Serkan Duran. So yeah, Serkan Duran is all the way up into P13. It's still such a lovely long snake coming down this straight, and shows how close all these drivers are. There isn't anything that's really standing out in terms of poor laps, as Dinan Dirksen makes a move back up into P25. His debut was last night in the GT3 late night race, as we're on board with Mr. Goswell. Again, another epic photographer, took some wonderful shots at Donington in the FRL meeting just over a month ago, which was shared on the Instagram account, which I neglected to give him credit for, so I apologise profusely for that. So Harry's done a last lap of a 46.787, which was about half a second slower than Nick in front, but it's brought him under threat from Tudor behind. Interesting to see who that guy. I think I almost missed death. Nick Stick, where are you? Chip, where's Mr. Chip? Where's Mr. Chip? And Serkan Duran seems to be getting very close and personal. Has the outside line for the right left-hander, hopefully for an undercut and getting on the power early, but never a great place to try and overtake through the chicane. The vortex of danger. This is doing though, Serkan and Madchip battling, is bringing Arras back into it, bringing Pryor into it. Is Madchip going to send it? Madchip, not so mad. Calm Chip. More of a cool Dorito. Serkan Duran must be sweating in salsa. Ha! Made that work. Arras is right behind. Into the braking zone due to the intense pressure that Madchip's trying to put on Serkan Duran, has potentially lost him a little bit of speed. Doku Kang has gone past Rokas Kakausius. Daniel now sets the fastest lap of the race, so he's getting the hammer down. But Kang is doing extremely well. Last lap was a 48.3, but I can only assume that was because of challenging drivers. But Kang has moved up 11 places since the start. Maybe potentially some sandbagging in the hot stints, and then decided not to show it all by chilling out a lot in the qualifying. But Mark Wilhelm now has the fastest lap of the race of a 45.1, which is just 200ths quicker than Ryan Blanchett's time. So Wilhijn is still putting pressure on Patrick Den. Den's putting pressure on Blanchett. Nobody else. So Madchip has now managed to get past. So he went full flaming hot Dorito and went past Serkan Duran. Serkan Duran wants to challenge down into the left-hander. There's contact. Madchip runs wide. Serkan Duran loses places. Yeah, difficult to judge on that angle. Patrick Den is right up the backside of Ryan Blanchett, but Wilhijn is right at the backside of Patrick Den. Schleber's right at the backside of the Playboy. Blanchett runs wide, difficult in the braking zone, concertina effect, 4 cars cannot go into one. Blanchett retains first position, 3.5 seconds, so he's dropping quite a bit on Daniel this lap. But the wonderful thing about having 20 minutes as a pit window, it does open a bit more strategy. You can go in early if you want to survive for 40 minutes on the tyres. Schleber tries to go around the outside of Playboy. Schleber will have the inside, but Wilhijn retains the position for another lap. That Porsche is absolutely awful down the straight. The Ferrari is absolutely rapid. So at the moment the Porsche will be stronger because of the weight in the car, but as soon as that fuel starts to go off and there's no refueling in this race, then it will become more and more and more of a problem. Dries Verhulst has had a yellow flag. We've got Lewis Blies has jumped into the pit stops. I can only assume that's down to damage. But our main battles is this one, if I'm perfectly honest. Wilhijn has dropped a few tenths back, but Patrick Den is right on the rear bumper of Blanchett once again. Blanchett is moving over the track, hoping to break the slipstream, but into the braking zone for the hairpin will be key. Beamer, car 998, Patrick Den. Another flying Swede which we have in the server. Oh! Daniel's gone! Daniel spun! Where's my mouse? There it is. I can't catch you. Yes, Daniel spun. Daniel has dropped from the lead all the way down into 10th position. Oh, that sinking feeling. Absolutely hammering it. Had a 3.5 second gap in front, and now is all the way back in 10th place and under pressure from Goswell. His tyres will be screaming and he'll pray that he's not going to go off again. Difficult right-hander. Goswell's going to look to try and send it down the inside. There's gap given, no contact. Excellent racing between the two drivers. But then, no, I don't want to go there. Sorry, Woody, I don't care about you. Oh, that sinking feeling for Daniel has been absolutely rapid. Arras is now on the right onto the tail of Uwick. Uwick's managed to come up. Pryor's managed to get all the way back up to 6th position, so he's done well. Where is the Mad Chip? The Mad Chip is in 5th place. So Burke Arras is now back on it. Daniel is now 7 tenths behind Nick Stick, and it's probably a really bad time to say I'm absolutely desperate for a piss. I'm going to hold it because I don't want to leave the action. Robbie Robstra, P19, 4 tenths behind. A lot of damage to the front of that Ferrari. Ian Thompson is the car in front. Nothing made on that occasion. Robstra in that Ferrari will be excitedly waiting for any straight line stuff, as you can see how much he's closing into that hairpin as he brakes a little bit later. Thompson will have to concede that position. Schleber goes the fastest lap. Oh, contact. Yeah. Oh no, Ian. Absolutely not. and I assume, I bet Robbie is absolutely fuming in the cockpit of that Ferrari. Yeah, so that needs to be dealt with after the race, because that was not a great moment of Ian Thompson's racing career. As Daniel has moved up into P9 now, on the return, right on the back, chasing down Arras, who joined in the off-season, one of Kagulu's friends, currently in P8, Nick Stick in P10. Duran's dropped. What happened to Serkan? Oh, we're into that silly moment now. So that was a punt in the rear. In fairness, does allow the Aston Martin to rejoin in front of him. Yeah, of Tudor. There we go, we're into that silly moment of the race where people want to make contact with each other. Looking out the rear of Ryan's car, Patrick Den moves wide to take the least line of resistance into the chicane. Ryan Blanchett, half a second out. Can't remember how many wins Ryan has had in FRL. But I don't think it's too many, so we'll be panting in the car. Actually, I think he did very well in the rookies race yesterday, but not 100% sure. I only do the stand-ins. So Daniel's now put in Arras under pressure. Not much of a difference in terms of their fastest lap has been about 4/10. Tilia Domikos is absolutely stunning. He's moved up 14 positions from 27th all the way up to P13. He's had an epic first 20 minutes of this race. Can only be helped by the drivers wanting to destroy each other up front. But saying that, the race has been largely very, very clean. Staber is now starting to put the pressure on Patrick Den. It's been to's and fro-ing around these drivers in terms of the gaps. Dries is now giving some pressure to Tudor. Tudor may have some damage. Turkan Turan is the car behind. Please be careful in the braking zones. It's brilliant watching the cars, their transition, their weight transfers in that corner. On board with Dries again, going down the start-finish straight. That Aston Martin will have a bit of poke going down there, but so McLaren has been slightly beaten up in the off-season and isn't as powerful as it once was. The pit window is now open, ladies and gentlemen, so we will start seeing these drivers go into the pit stops. Remember, it is tyres only. The fuel they started with is the fuel they have to finish with, so that adds an extra bit of complication. So let's have a... There we go. This is where... So we can see Woodward already in the pits. Robstra, in his battered and bruised Ferrari, is already in the pits as well. Lovely sound of fireworks in the background. We have our own fireworks on track, ladies and gentlemen. Ewig in P7 is very, very close to the back of Pryor. Pryor, who had that very difficult start. Can and Dirksen seem to be involved in a yellow flag moment, but Pryor has since moved back up from P10 to P6, which shows his pace, but is under pressure again from Oliver in the McLaren. That is a spectacular little livery. Nice. Patrick Den, currently P2. Blanchet's pulled a 1.2 second gap in front. Robster is still in the pits. So I thought Arras went into the pits then, but he hasn't. He must have just crossed the white line. Ewig's dropped 2.5 seconds behind now. Corving is also in the pits. We're seeing drivers moving up through the grid. We still have 26 drivers running. Thompson is in the pits as well. Interesting to see. So these are the pit times as well. So you've got Dirksen with a 239 second stop, Gedman with 61.1, and Woodward with a 64 second stop. So that's where the damage is coming into it. Patrick Den under immense pressure. Dries Velhurst has gone into the pits as well. So all these drivers have 20 minutes or 17 minutes left to do their pits. It'll be interesting. We will all find out, is it better to undercut or overcut? You're going to get the short-term benefits with an undercut, but towards the end of the race you may be praying that you didn't. Although Thomas should last an hour. In these conditions, it's not exactly roasting. Update on the temperature in the shed, it is 18 degrees. Patrick Den has a wobble, allowing Markus Schleber to gain some time back. And no more of the front runners have yet to dive into the pits. They're all content to battle. Probably is an option to consider for Schleber, especially, maybe even the Playboy. Pit a bit earlier, you may get a bit of a jump on the drivers in front when you're not racing in their dirty air. The Playboy runs wide into the turn one. Serkan Duran's gone in as well, so that's his first stop of the race as well. First stop of the race. Trying to figure out what it said on the back of his car. Make love, not war, potentially. Maybe he's doing a political statement. So the Mad Chip is right on the back of the Playboy now. Last time out at 44.4, Vilheney did a 44.53. So I can only assume that the time's been lost during this lap. Running in close proximity. Schleber's now gone right into the back, right on the back of Patrick Den once again. That rhymes. You see Blanchet comfortably in front at the moment. Has he considered trying to drag this out for as long as he can? Problem with the guys who are pitting from the midfield who have damage, they will be coming in amongst this pack. As we can see on the track map, Serkan Duran just coming out of the pits now, so he will be okay. Anyone further back than 20th will be coming in and around this battle, as we can see. Oh, that's Patrick Den again. Mad Chip's dived in. Our first front runner has dived into the pits for his stop, and so has Oliver. Following him closely behind. Is this the moment? Daniel probably at best to keep hammering those laps in. Back up into P5 without that stop. We've got Tudor, who's also come in from P12. Frank Horseman is also in the pits from P22. So now is the time these drivers are choosing to go into the pits. Let's keep an eye on their times. Ryan Blanchet leading the way by 1.5 seconds, so not an unattainable lead any stretch of the imagination. Still has to keep the pressure on, keep the pace going, remain calm. Markus Schleber in P3, Mark Vilheney in P4, back onto board with Patrick Den. See how close that Ferrari starts to get through the braking zones. On the power again, the BMW M Power. Oh, has Ewig managed to get out in front of... He has, he's got out in front of the Mad Chip. I quicker stop, hitting his markers, has made all the difference. So yes, that was a 65-second stop for Ewig, 69 for the Mad Chip, 68 seconds for Pryor, so potentially some damage there. Arras did a 69-second stop, so Pryor's managed to jump ahead of him. Schleber goes into the pits and makes contact with the wall. That's not going to help his cause. Which promotes Vilhane to P3. Who was that coming out of the pits? Is that... I'm not sure who that was. But Schleber now will have a long stop. Rokas Kakauskis is up into P10. Surely he has to repair that damage. Daniel's now into the 46s, so it's about half a second down on the leading pack. Ryan Blanchett did a 45.9 last lap. Vilhane did a 45.5. So maybe these tyres are starting to go off on the Ferrari. It's given Nick Stick plenty of incentive as they're going past the lap car there of the Honda. I think that might be Terry Williams if he is still here. Yes, it was. So Schleber in P10 now hasn't yet left the pits. This is going to be a longer stop than he wants to, although he is back down and he is on his way. Vilhane, remarkably consistent. Blanchett, Den, all consistent. Schleber has a yellow flag and managed to stay out in front of the Mad Chip, who has in between the Mad Chip and Oliver. Can is the car in front, so that's good for him. Pryor's managed to go through. What's happened to Burke Arras? He's dropped a fair few positions. Pryor has taken advantage and moved back up into P14. He has not completed his stop according to this. I'm assuming he has, because it was a 68-second stop. Goswell is in from P6, and also Attilia Domokos, who has had an absolutely astounding first half of this race, astonishing even. Let's think of a better adjective. Paul Welsh moves up into P6 in car number 2 in the Lexus, has gained a fair few positions this race as well, but yet to pit are any of the top 6 drivers, top 10 drivers even. Maybe look at the board before you start to comment, James. But Attilia Domokos is in the pits and he is just hitting his mark now. One of the first guys into the server. Schleber has a yellow flag, so he's dropping down the order massively. Pryor has also gone off as well. Well, he seems to be in P13, so there's no contact there at all. Doku Kang moves up into P7 as he moves past Domokos, Kakauskis and Goswell in the pits, so he's going to try and go for the longest stint he can. Oliver Ewig is now back up into P8, so so the podium is still going to be, at this present moment of time, Blanchett. Serkan Duran goes the quickest guy with a 44.9. Is that going to prompt some of the guys who are staying out for a pit, because it seems to be getting quicker? We've gone halfway through. So Patrick Den does not go into the pits. Vilhane does not go into the pits. Neither to Bakusta. Nick Stick dives into the pits. Avoid the walls. Slow it down to 31 miles per hour. Ready for your stop. Paul Welsh continues for another lap. He's moved up into P5. Doku Kang in the Audi. Seems to be going well. Anyone playing close towards the back, it seems to be pretty chilled at the moment. Vilhane is still putting pressure. Don't want the back, we want the front. Still putting pressure on Patrick Den. Ebbs and flows between these three drivers of who gets closest to who. The longer a challenge goes on, they seem to drop back a bit. Then Den gets a bit of breathing space and then starts to progress towards Blanchett again. Nick Stick is in the pits. is horrid through that corner. Mad Chip goes even quicker with a 44.3. So Chip has 1.7 seconds to Ewig. Only the top 6 have not pitted. 8 minutes left to complete that stop. Into the braking zone. Difference with these drivers were very equal pace. Den doesn't have the best of exit. Blanchett and Den dive into the pits, leaving our provisional leader Mark Verheyen to do another lap. Daniel Batista, is he going to do a stop? No. Paul Welsh continues on his merry way. Can is quite a bit further back. Oh, there's Ken, isn't it? Yeah, he's quite a bit further back, but top 3 provisionally: Verheyen, Daniel, Paul Walsh, all top 3. Mad Chip is getting back on the wagon, chasing down Oliver in P7. Who's going to get out first? There was a little bit of a gap. I've got a funny feeling that Blanchett should be safe, but it will be all down to these pit stops. You can see a good pit stop is around 66, 65 seconds. Anything longer than that position is a threat. But so he's still. Patrick Den is right at the back of the box. So he's moved away before Blanchett has got moved away, actually, so he regains that position quite comfortably. He moves out into P4. And it seems... so Ewig has moved so rapidly through this stop. He's gone up into P2 by the looks of things. Nick Stick under pressure. Who is that behind? That's Patrick Den behind. So Patrick Den has been a bit of a loser from that stop. So he had... So Blanchett did a 67 stop. Mad Chip, where is Patrick Den, is all the way down in 10th position. So he had a 72-second stop. So not hitting his markers. Something's going on with my thing. So where is Verheyen? Verheyen is in the pits, but it's showing here that he is all the way down in 18th position, which I don't think is right. Allows Daniel to continue on his merry way up in P1. Then you've got Paul Walsh in P2. Just had that moment of confusion. Why the hell is the Playboy all the way down in P20th? Unless he's decided to drive through half of the track. But it doesn't look as though... It looks as though the undercutters work massively. If I'm perfectly honest. Ian Thompson is the car in front. He'll need to get out of the way pretty quickly. Verheyen in P22, apparently. I don't think that's right. I'm pretty confident that's Arras, so he's P6, P7. There we go, P7 is updated. It didn't like his pit stop by the looks of things, so how did he do in his pit stop? RNA 68.5, so could go better. Ewig moves past Ian Thompson. Mad Chip moves past Ian Thompson as well, so at the moment Blanchett has the lead. Daniel dives into the pits. Be hoping he can go as high up in this group as possible, but these are the only 2 drivers who have completed a valid pit stop at this present moment in time. Paul Walsh continues on his way. He has 4 minutes to complete his stop, so maybe dragging it out for another lap, maybe 2 laps, and hoping to get the best of fresh tyres towards the end. Only time will tell. But right on the back of Blanchett now is Oliver Ewing, then the Mad Chip. This could potentially be the top 3 once these cars come out of their pit cycle. Oliver Ewing putting pressure on the Ferrari in front. McLaren is doing very, very well with that early stop, very quick stop as well. From Ewing of 65 seconds, that has been the fastest stop so far. Daniel now is dropping down the field as he's coming out of the pits. Staying out longer possibly hasn't helped him, and that stop is a 68.3, so it's not the quickest by any stretch of the imagination, not the worst. But we'll have fresher tyres. Goswell drives past. Good boy for staying in the white lines. So that moves Blanchett back up to P2. Ewing in P3. Mad Chip in P4. That will be your podium positions at the moment with 22 minutes left of the race. Paul Walsh is the man on a mission still, trying to eke out these tyres for as long as possible to then get the benefit towards the end. You would have to fancy Ryan Blanchett. He's currently 3/10 slower on the last lap than Ewing. Mad Chip with a 45.5, 1.2 seconds slower than his fastest lap of the race. But as these tyres start to come in for the Ferrari, it's probably going to start putting the hammer down. Lap cars are also in front. That looks like a Gedman in front. There we go, PureSimGear. Mr. Blanchett's FRL through and through. So another lap goes by. Paul Walsh is under pressure from McLaren behind. Tyres probably be screaming compared to the rest of the grid, but he has gone on for another lap. Ryan Blanchett, as we mentioned, as those tyres start to get into temperature with a 44.3. Gedman moves out of the way nicely, even though he's continued to be flash. Ewing is the car behind. He managed to look like he's got through successfully. How has Mad Chip done? He's still behind Gedman going through the chicane. Gedman runs a little bit wider, allowing Mad Chip to go through. So that is your top 3 at the moment. Then you've got Stuart Pryor as the next man, currently in P5, probably more P4. Then the Playboy, Will Heine, was looking odds on for a podium, but dragging out the stop, and also a 68.5 has dragged him out a little bit more. So we've got Paul Walsh is our only man remaining on the track. So play around and see what I can find, which is interesting. Yeah, that's probably nicer. So Paul Walsh now does finally come into the pits in the Lexus. It's a very nice blue Lexus. People in the chat might be saying it's not blue, James. Right, okay, so having a bit of chat, but got 4 adverts to watch on Twitch, so fully here. Poor Woody, go Mad Chip. How strong is the undercut? Very, very strong. Undercut is massive. Christopher, 4 more adverts on Twitch. Hey, stay with me on YouTube. The best thing about Twitch, it actually generates money for FRL, so watch those adverts. Is now closed. Pit window is now closed. We have our last man in the pits, which is Mr. Walsh, who's now starting to tumble down the positions. Would like to see where he comes out. He's just moving away from his grid spot now. Into P10 now. Attilia and Furkan are probably our closest drivers. Look how much that Ferrari gains on the straight though. And there's Paul Walsh in front. So that he is in P14. Attilia decides against the full-blown send. I can't believe this man's luck at the moment, and fair play to him. Thompson, after trying to decide to kill someone, he stayed out on track and has largely stayed out of trouble. Daniel. Sooner rather than later, because all that's doing is putting him under pressure. All it's doing is putting Daniel under pressure from Harry Goswell. Probably should have stayed to the left there and allowed him through. Not the moment of crowning glory for Ian Thompson tonight. Pretty much nowhere to go, unfortunately, for that right-hander. Stuart Pryor in 4th place. On the back of Manship. Oliver Ewig still 7/10 of a second behind Blanchett, going into his slipstream down the start finish straight into turn 1. Blanchett's defending here at the moment. Is that Daniel? It says in. Oh, yeah, he's Daniel has gone into the pits. Okay. No idea what for. Maybe frustration of his qualifying position where he's at now. This is for 3rd place on the podium. Pryor 7/10 of a second behind the mad chip. Still desperate for a P. Still 18 degrees. The hoodie is warm. Is the action going to heat up towards the end of the race, or are we set for our podiums? Any one mistake. Remember, this is the amateurs, and the guys have been absolutely astonishing with their skill tonight, and how they've managed to battle so closely for so long. Robbie Robstra was the guy who was poleaxed by Ian Thompson, currently in P20. Gedman in P22. Where is Mr. Woodward? Has he retired? Yeah, I can't see Mr. Woodward. Obviously missed the Battle of the Beards tonight. Pryor is our closest battle, our closest fight. We've got Patrick Den actually in P8. Let's try and see what happens into turn 1 between Pryor and the Mad Chip. No send. We don't want to go there. Patrick Den is going down the outside of. Is that Nick Stick? Yes, it is. Nick Stick defends the corner, loses the inside. Patrick Den should be able to get better traction. We've got Christopher Gedman being flashed from behind. A little bit of a moment for Patrick Den. Gedman does run wider to allow Schreiber back through. Schreiber's in P9, so that pit stop absolutely derailed any of his momentum. But Oliver and Manship have had brilliant races so far. Pryor's dropped 2 places, Arras has gained 2, Stick has gained 5, Den and Schreiber have both lost 4 positions, Goswell's gained 3, Serkan Duran's almost where he started but has dropped 1 place. Then you've got Tudor, Paul Walsh and Hoseman all gaining 2 positions. It's the braking zone that BMW can get on a bit later than McLaren. Under 15 minutes left of the race. Don't forget, if you are in FRL and you are on PlayStation, well, tonight in itself we have 4 races going on at the same time. We have 2 races on PC, the one you see here, also the Pro race which is on Twitch. We have the PlayStation 4 2 hours endurance event tonight, which happens once a month, and the PlayStation 5 2 hours endurance race, which is also live on the FRL YouTube channel. Throughout the week we have a very busy schedule on PlayStation as well as PC, as Schreiber, it looks like he is gaining on the back of Patrick Den. Remember, Patrick Den was sat 2nd position for so long. Schreiber was sat 3rd position for a long time. Wilhelm seems to has managed to. Oh, what's happened to Pryor? Pryor must have had a bit of an off. that's brought Vilhane back up into P4. So I'm not sure what's happened to Pryor this lap, but he is not doing as well, and he's lost a position. I can only assume he's lost rather than Vilhane has gained a position. We'll have a look at their lap times when they cross the line. As I was mentioning, we do have a very, very busy schedule. There's a McLaren that runs wide, and we have a BMW, which is almost, again, I can only assume is a lap car, which almost killed a couple of the cars in front. Schreiber was looking to send it on Patrick Den there. I will get round to my busy, hectic schedule we have in FRL sooner rather than later, I promise. So on PlayStation we start the week with a Taco Tuesdays, which has 3 tiers on PS5, 1 tier on PlayStation 4, then we go to our Arrive and Drive Thursday, which is a mixed calendar on PlayStation 5, where you get the chance to drive different cars, same class racing. Schreiber moves a little bit wider, Den defends the position well. Then we have on Fridays monthly, we have our PlayStation 4 and 5 endurance races, and then on Super Sprint Sunday on PlayStation we have 1 tier on PlayStation 4 and 2 tiers on PlayStation 5. Tier 1 on that is commentated on, so you get to watch that on the FRL YouTube channel as well. All 3 tiers on PlayStation 5 are commentated on too. Marcus Schreiber decides to force his way through. Den did leave a bit of a gap, and I think Schreiber's acknowledged that was not the cleanest move of his racing life and decides to ensure that Den retains the position. But what damage has been done to both the Ferrari and the BMW? See a Porsche moving out of the way on the side. And then on PC we have our Super Sprints on Tuesdays, 2 25-minute races. Thursdays we have our rookies plus our late night races at 10 o'clock. Blanchett is leading the way by 2.7 seconds. Might not be feeling as uneasy as he did 15 minutes ago, but still in the lead. Ewig is dropped back by 2.5 seconds. Manship is back further by another 2.5 seconds, but Vilhane is is there too. So in terms of Pryor, he did a 45.6, whereas Vilhane pumped out a 44.8. So maybe not a mistake, and maybe just some excellent racing by the Playboy. Goswell lapping a BMW with behind him Serkan Duran in that Raging Bull Lamborghini. Goswell runs wide. Hot tyres and a Raging Bull. Retains the position in car number 8. Nick Stick, 2/10 on Arras. Looks like Stick has got that move done into P6, so he's having a good afternoon or good evening. 10 minutes left. All pit stops have been done. Schreiber is now back on the tail of Patrick Den. So yes, we are pretty active in FRL across PlayStation 4, 5 and PC. The racing never stops. I have no hair to prove it. Didn't go to that, I want to stay on this. So just in front of these two, you've got Arras, who just skips the chicane. We'll see any drive-throughs today. Interesting. Tudor's had a nice little race. He's gained 2 positions, currently 5 seconds off Serkan Duran in front, and then 2.5 seconds behind the car, in front of the car behind even. Christ. Derek, I will ask, don't message me admin stuff when I'm trying to do comms. Always nice, because then it distracts me and my momentum. Patrick Den now gained it up into just under a second behind Arras. Arras seems to be having problems, especially in the chicane in the final corner, and is starting to lose some time. Under pressure now from Patrick Den. Schleber is the car behind still, and that's only a second back, so Den will be looking to try and bring back some of the positions that he lost at the beginning of the a lot tighter in points this season than in previous years. You don't get as much for a win, so hopefully the title will be decided a lot later. Doing down the start finish line. We've concentrated a lot on the guys in front. Let's have a look at some of. There is Woody. I thought Woody had died, but Woody is here. Gedman is 7/10 behind car number 72, potentially looking to make the move down into turn 1. Moves onto the inside to make the pass. Porsche runs slightly wide. Gedman sees the Porsche on the left hand side, makes contact with him. Cleanest way to pass, Christopher. And we've got Robbie Robstra running a bit of a quiet race, 33 seconds behind Dries up in front, who is only 7/10 behind Rokas Kakauskis. Going down the start finish line. Rokas in the Honda this season. I can't remember him in the Honda in previous years. We'll have a runs quite wide into down the start finish straight. Daniel has gone back into the has come out of the pits, and a disappointing evening for him, but he's currently in P16. Then you got Attilio Domokos in P15. Paul Walsh on those fresher tyres. Starting to make moves. He's back up into P12. Car behind is Tudor in the Aston Martin, but Paul Walsh is lapping in the low 145s, whereas Tudor did a 45.9 last lap. Gaining now on Serkan Duran, it will be his mission. So let's have a look at who was. Oh, don't want to look at that one. No, that's not the one we wanted. So it does look like Rokas has pulled away a little bit this time. Daniel in P16, remember, qualified on pole position. There's damage to the Ferrari of Attilio Domokos in front. Domokos dives into the pitch. That damage obviously is a bit too extreme for him. Terry Williams is now going through the chicane. Coming into the pit, Wood is on a bit of a go slow, I think. And has dropped. It still remains in P20. Robstra is the car in front, and he seems quite comfortably in front as well. Dries, where are you? There you are. He's now going back in again. He seems to gain so much time as Ian Thompson goes into the pits. His race is run. 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining of the race. Goswell in P8, P10 even, and Serkan Duran battling down into the hairpin. Serkan Duran has gained a position there, so now he is definitely back where he started. Opportunity for any of the drivers that are behind Attilio Domokos to gain an extra position. Next one on that radar is Neil Woodward, Christopher Gedman in P21, and Sven Korbing will also be interested. Korbing is in and around that 2-second mark. Keeps flagging up that he's on a go slow, and he is, and that's because he is doing the right thing and letting cars in front. Mad Chip, as the pressure has seemed to have dropped back definitely has dropped back from prior, but Vilhane is 1.6 seconds behind. Now he's starting to put the pressure on Ewig in front. Very different lines through that right-hander there. A lot wider running is the McLaren. Counting down to the last 2 laps of the race. We've spent a lot of time looking at this Ferrari out in front. He has been stupendous. Qualified P2, raced on the rookies and also the sprints this week, so we'll be familiar with Barcelona before we transition over to Imola next week for round 2. Ewig in P2. We'll be looking forward for that second step on the podium rather than the third step, rather than looking behind, but needs to be very cognizant of Vilhane, the playboy behind. Start-finish rate very equal in terms of top speed. The Aston and the McLaren, by the looks of things, slipstream has been given to the McLaren. We see Blanchett entering and exiting turn 1. McLaren takes a wider line. Schreiber and Den again have made contact, have they? Well, it looks as though he's got past. Tudor's gone into the pits for some reason. With 2 minutes left of the race. If there was damage, you would hope he would manage to carry on. Doesn't look to be anything unless he has damage to the front of the car. Mad Chip going down into the left-hander, down the bottom of the hill. Looks as though Oliver, despite pitting earlier, is struggling with tyre, because he pitted earlier, has now had the advantage of having those fresh tyres earlier on, but is now starting to struggle with 1.5 minutes left. This will be the penultimate lap. As they cross the line, it will say leader is on the final lap. The Mad Chip will need to be the cool Dorito right now, as we see the flag waver in the background. Where will the move come? Is he going to be brave and send it, or is he going to be patient and wait for the moment the McLaren runs right? Into the hairpin, a lot tighter line by the Aston Martin. The McLaren able to get onto the power a little bit earlier. How will the Aston do down the start-finish straight? Right, Vilhane will be interested if there is any contact between these two drivers, if any move is made. Sensible driving by Oliver, just moves over to the racing line for the braking, so not trying to defend thin air. Remember, this is our battle for second position on the grid. See Ryan in front, coasting away 3 seconds into the lead. Has had various challenges for the race. Patrick Den, currently in P8, being one of them. Daniel, who's currently in P14, being another, but he's dropped a fair few places. Right. You can tell it's getting towards the end of the race. My mouth has stopped working as they go back up the hill in Catalonia. Will there be a move through the quick right-hander, down the long straight, into the final deep braking zone? Mad Chip goes right up the rear. He's going to try and go for the undercut as the McLaren runs wide, and that has allowed Mad Chip through into second position. Absolutely fantastic racing by the two drivers. It seems as though Mad Chip predicted it. The final few corners for Ryan Blanchett, qualified P1, has raced through the raced in the lead for the large majority after Daniel made a mistake and went spinning. He comes to cross the line for the first win of the season for Ryan Blanchett. Absolutely fantastic. Mad Chip in P2, Oliver Ewig 3, and then we got Melville Heine 4. Stuart Pryor comes to cross the line in P5. We'll probably consider this a disappointing afternoon. Nick Stick in P6, Patrick Den in P7, Marcus Schleber in P8. Then we have Burke Harris in P9. Serkan Duran brings out the top 10 ahead of Harry Goswell in P11. Paul Walsh, after trying the different strategy, comes across in P12. Frank Horseman coming through the final corner in the Porsche in P13. Already crossed the line is Woodward, Domikos and Gedman and Corving. 13 for him. Daniel, again, will be feeling pretty disappointed in P14. Tudor coming through the chicane in P15. His first race in FRL in the Aston Martin. Has lost one position throughout the race. Comes across the line in P15. Through the final cordon comes Dries. Then we got Rokas Kakauskis. In the red Honda. Celebrates the fact that he's finished, and that was a very, very good drive from Hugh. Gained 5 positions. Robbie Robstra will be our final driver to cross the line after being annihilated by a Porsche, but has managed to stay on track and gain a top 20, a nice credible 18th position, and he comes across to finish. But our winner, which I'm sure has dived into the pits now, is Ryan Blanchett, who had an absolutely fantastic race. As mentioned, our podium of Mad Chip, who gained the position on the final lap of the race. So he's had a good afternoon as well. And then Oliver Ewig, trying the early undercut, came to his advantage. Sorry, I'm just... There we go. The undercut gained with his advantage, managed to pull off a very, very good P3. Mad Chip there, off in the background. Oliver Ewig in P3 with that undercut strategy. Mark Vilheim was there or thereabouts. The later stop probably cost him when all's said and done. And Stuart Pryor with P5 in the race. We had a couple of non-finishers. We had Ian Thompson 25, Pepsi Poe 26, Buse 27. Luke Gator had a drive through and then decided that was enough. Jay Clark, Marino, and then finally Can, who had a disqualification. This has been round 1 of FRL's Super GT3 Friday season. We are here next week again for Imola. I wish you all a very, very good weekend and hope you enjoyed your evening spent with me. Have a good evening or good night.